The next step is to refine our shadow shapes with the smudge tool. Now, one of the things is you might look at this and go, "Oh yeah, this is pretty sharp." But if you notice, if I turn my outline off, the face is pretty soft. Okay, so there are no outlines in real life, so we need to get this so it's kind of sharp. So one of the things we want to remember is that instantaneous change, so from lighter to darker, is going to create a gap, so making the nose look like it's in front of the cheek. And then blending change creates curves. So I'm going to zoom in close because it's going to make my life a lot easier. And on the smudge tool up here, a couple things about this you need to know. Any brush that has no icon over here, you can use the smudge brush on. I'm going to use a soft round. However, there are times where I will use textured brushes like these to smudge things as well, but I'm not going to do it just yet. Also, if you click up some of these other ones, notice if it has an icon over here, it will only work with that tool. So you cannot use this inking tool because it's a brush. You can use the Paintbox Wet Blender and this Impressionist brush, but this actually blends the paint around. So this isn't going to help with us. So we're just going to stay with our soft round we have. Strength is going to really depend on which brush you use and stuff like that. So what's cool about this is that with the smudge tool is I can push colors around. This is why I wasn't super concerned about getting everything exactly right the first time. So I will play with my brush size quite a bit while I do this, but basically this allows me to go through and refine my edges. So there's a muscle here by her cheek. I will pull that up and bring it out to a tapered point. And basically I just can move things around. So for instance, up here on her eye, the shadow didn't get under her eyebrow, so I'll just pull that shadow up. Remember, I'm pulling it up under her eyebrow because her eyebrow is going to cover that, but I want the shadow to meet it. Now over here, this is where we want to refine this edge a little bit so that I need a hard value change along the edge of her nose. So two things are going to happen. I can, of course, push these lines up so that that edge is sharper against her eye. And you can see that's becoming more of an instantaneous change. But you're going to probably find when you're looking at the outline stuff is that some edges are just not enough. So I'm going to hit B to go back to my brush real quick. I'm going to, here I actually brought my color samples in over here. So I'm going to say, okay, I need a little bit more brush time. Hold my Alt button down, grab this, and don't be afraid to come back in here and you know, increase your value differences. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of dark down here. I can hold my Alt button down here, grab a little bit of highlight, and I'm going to increase that value change on her nose a little bit. Don't do everywhere necessarily exactly the same, but I do want that to be an instantaneous change, and then I can come right back to my smudge tool, zoom back in, and I can start tweaking my edges. So the smudge tool, the great thing about this is that it allows you to change the shape. So for instance, the end of her nose is wider, so I'm going to pull the highlight out a little bit wider. I can make it feel more rounder by pulling that down. And you can pull any of these shadow shapes around. In fact, I can even use this. She's got a couple small creases by her eyes, so I can pull these darker shapes out. I'm going to move my pressure up a little bit just so I can do that easier. Pull some of these out. And it's a refining process. That's just going to happen. Turn that back down. But you're going to bounce back and forth. Don't be afraid to use your brush to tweak some things. But if you see this is becoming sharper, okay, another thing I can do is I can pull along that edge. Since it pulls all those colors in a direction, I can use this to sharpen edges a little bit too. But I'll probably still have to place some darker values in on her cheek there to make that separate.